Hi, this is Kathy in Katy, Texas, talking again about my dogs, Foxy, Ash, Buster, and Julia. Well, let's see. Julia scalped Buster one day because Buster's the 8-pound little Yorkie Terrier, and I'll tell you the story of how I got Buster several months ago. His mommy died. He had a lady who owned him from birth, and he was her sidekick, her shotgun dog. And Buster, she died of cancer 2 years ago. And then Buster made the rounds of people. Her son took the dog in, and he worked, his wife worked, the kids went to school. So little old Buster was alone all the time and started acting out, barking continuously nonstop. Then he went from them. They were going to send him down to Mexico with their brother's wife's family, who wanted a little dog down in Mexico. So Buster, my son, her brother, half brother, told her, no, don't send him down to Mexico because he'll be outside and he can't survive being outside. He's an in-the-house dog. He was a beloved pet. And so they decided to give him to my son, Gene. Well, Gene works too, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. And so, of course, Buster was resigned to living in the laundry room. They had a baby gate up there because they didn't want Buster going throughout the house. And of course he wasn't happy. And Gene would let him out when he'd get home, and Gene would get on the computer on his chair. Buster'd come back in the house, get underneath Gene's chair, and then piss all over under his chair. Because I said, well, it's evident he's pissed, literally and figuratively, Gene. The dog's not happy. Now, I had 3 dogs at that time, and I said, let me have the dog, or use me as a doggy daycare. Bring the dog to, drop him off on your way to work. He works about, quarter of a mile from where I live. And I said, you can drop him in like a doggy daycare. Let him acclimate to the other dogs. And of course, everybody said, Buster can't be around other dogs. He was a single dog his whole life, and there's no way he's going to get along with other dogs. And I said, well, on my birthday, it was January 26th this year, 2011, Gene brought him over. And that wasn't on his way to work. We had been out to dinner. We stopped by Gene's, picked up Buster, and I brought him home. Well, there were 5 dogs here, and we brought Buster in, who had never been around other dogs because they said he can't get along. And I said, Gene, dogs are pack animals. They will adjust to each other. And I said, the dog whisperer says. And of course, Gene just looks at me and he says, Mom, you're not the dog whisperer. But lo and behold, we were having a big birthday party here. And guess what? Buster got down with the other dogs, and he's this little 8-pound dog. And the other dogs are from 45 pounds. 2 of them are about 45 pounds, and 2 are about 25 pounds. And then little old Buster. Well, Buster just thought he owned the other dogs, and he's up on top of them barking and carrying on and trying to, corral them. So I said, we got to take pictures of this, because they had to show it to the whole family that little old Buster, in fact, is a pack animal. And all these years, or 2 years since Donna, the mommy, died, I said, lo and behold, Buster could get along with other dogs. So the problem is Julia, the dog I adopted from the SPCA, Thanksgiving of 2009. Buster, she's 45 pounds, went up and bit her. And when he bit her, she looked at him basically and said, really? And put his head in her mouth and bit him and scalped him, peeled his scalp back. And so he wound up having emergency surgery that night, and spent the night, and he had pain medication, all kinds of blood work, because when you do a little dog, he's 13 years old, it's quite a procedure. But he did well. He didn't die. He lived. He managed to get through the surgery. And so now I'm very kind of leery about Buster and Julia being down on the floor at the same time, because Buster is still trying to corral all 5 dogs. And I said, you know what, Buster, you're going to be dead You know, somebody's going to bite your head off. But Julia, when I bought her, she was just a year old. Her birthday is 11/11/2008. So this November 11th, she's going to be 3 years old. She's a beautiful dog. And we picked her up the day after Thanksgiving from the SPCA, and she was very nervous about people, you know, just very apprehensive over people, and it takes time working with her. Now she's coming up to a year and a half she's been with me, and it'll be 2 years in November. So I think she's doing well, and she's the sweetest, best dog, really. It's just she and Buster, you know, she doesn't like it when he bites her, and she's not going to take it. Then you have Ash, the little schnauzer, who's 13 years old, the other male. You know, him and Buster are like two little old men that can't get along. Well, Ash, my son got him from an antique dealer. We went into an antique store over by Jones Road in 1960 one day, or they were antique trailers. And lo and behold, they had a sign on the door, Schnauzer puppies for sale. And Ash was the last schnauzer to go. I guess nobody wanted him. And my son Gene was like, Mom, please, will you pay for the dog? I'll give you the money when we get home. He wanted the dog badly, so we bought Ash. He called him Ash because he's the color of the ashes in the fireplace. And of course, Ash adores Gene. And of course, do you think, and I was like, who's going to feed the dog? Who's going to buy the dog food? I am. Who's going to pay for the vet bills? I am. Who's going to, you know, need I tell you? Nope, it's me. So Ash is 13 years old. He loves Gene, adores Gene, but of course Gene is now left home, did not take Ash to live with him because Ash is a leg lifter, and Gene doesn't want his new house, you know, to have a leg lifter leaving his scent and his mark everywhere. So that's Ash's story, and of course he's not happy that I brought in another male dog his age. Then there's Foxy, who's the Sheltie mix, and she is just the sweetest old girl. She's 16 years old, just the kindest dog, sweetest dog, terrified of little 8-pound Buster. Now she weighs about 25 pounds, just like Ash does. But the vet told me she is ancient. He said for 16 is an ancient dog. But you know, I figured one of the reasons, I'll say this, don't ever go to the SPCA or CAP, Citizens for Animal Protection, or any other shelter without making your mind up that you will not leave there without a dog. I looked at every single dog in the entire SPCA. I had never been to the SPCA. I read every chart of every dog there, and Julia was the only dog that had been tested for heartworms and passed negative. Every dog in the SPCA was positive for heartworms. But she had been there 17 days, which is very long, and they were ready to put her down because she wasn't adopted by anybody. So, of course, we took her in the visiting room and we played with her, and I just couldn't leave her there and let them put her down. So that's how I wound up with Julia, even though I have 3 old dogs already. I told myself that these 3 dogs, 2 13, 1 16, that they're going to die. You know, that I would think without too long, dogs do not have 20-year longevity usually. They're already long life at 13 and 16. In fact, every day I get up and when I go in the living room, I look at Foxy to see if she's still alive. That's, you know, how bad it is, really. So anyway, that's the story of my dogs. This is Kathy and Katie, Katy, Texas, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.